If Ferrari releases this car, the entire Formula One season changes overnight. Because what they are hiding right now is not an upgrade. It is a completely different version of the SF-26, designed to fix the one weakness that stopped them from beating Mercedes in China. And here is the part nobody is talking about. Ferrari was already the second fastest team in Shanghai. They had better traction, better tire management, and in the corners, they were matching Mercedes. But they still couldn't win. Not because of strategy, not because of the drivers, because of one invisible problem, losing them up to half a second per lap on the straight. Now imagine that same car, without that limitation, or worse, a car that doesn't even try to fix it, and instead becomes unstoppable everywhere else. That is exactly what Ferrari is preparing right now. A high-risk B specification car, more aggressive, more extreme, and potentially faster than anything on the grid. But there is a catch, because this new version could either bring Ferrari back to the top, or completely destroy their season. And the decision has already been made. Subscribe now, because what Ferrari is about to do next could redefine the entire championship. Ferrari didn't leave China celebrating. They left with urgency. Because when you look at the results, third and fourth doesn't look like a failure. It looks stable. It looks competitive. It even looks like progress. But inside the team, it felt like a warning. Because they were close. Too close to ignore it. And still, too far to change the outcome. That gap, that invisible distance to Mercedes, is what triggered everything. And here is why. In Shanghai, Ferrari proved something very important. The SF-26 is not just fast, it is efficient. In Sector 1, they could attack. In Sector 2, they could maintain pressure. Corner after corner, both drivers were able to stay within reach, sometimes even faster. And that creates a very dangerous illusion. Because when you are strong in the corners, it feels like you are one step away. One small change, one upgrade, one detail. But that's not the real situation. Because every lap told the same story. They gain, and then they lose it all. Again, and again, and again. And this is where frustration turns into action. Because Ferrari realized something that changes the entire direction of development. They are not lacking pace. They are lacking completion. The car works until it doesn't. It delivers until the straight begins. And in modern Formula One, that is enough to lose everything. So the engineers started asking a different question. Not how do we make the car faster, but where do we choose to be unbeatable? And that shift changes everything. Because instead of chasing Mercedes in a straight line, Ferrari is preparing to dominate the rest of the track. But that decision comes with consequences. Because when you commit to one extreme, you abandon balance. And once you lose balance, you enter a completely different category of car. More sensitive, more demanding, less forgiving. And this is where things get even more interesting. Because both drivers felt it. Even in China, moments where the car was on the edge. Moments where confidence was not absolute. Now imagine that feeling. Amplified, pushed further, engineered into the DNA of the next version. This is not evolution. This is escalation. And Ferrari knows exactly what they are risking. Because if they get it right, they don't just close the gap. They redefine the fight. But if they get it wrong, they don't stay second. They fall backwards. And the most important detail, they are willing to take that risk, which tells you everything about what is coming next. But here is where the story takes a deeper turn. Because this decision Ferrari is making, it didn't start after China. China only exposed it. The real shift began much earlier, quietly, almost invisible, inside simulations, wind tunnel sessions, long runs that never made headlines. Because while everyone was focused on lap times, Ferrari was studying something else. Patterns, where they were strong, where they were vulnerable, and more importantly, where they could dominate without needing more power. And that leads to a very uncomfortable truth. Ferrari already knows they cannot match Mercedes in engine performance right now. Not immediately, not without time. And time is the one thing they don't have. Because if Mercedes keeps winning like this, the championship starts slipping away early. So Ferrari is not waiting. They are redirecting. Instead of fixing the weakness first, they are amplifying the strength. And that creates a completely different type of car philosophy. One that doesn't try to be the best everywhere, but aims to be unbeatable somewhere. And here is why that matters more than people think. Because Formula One is not won by averages. It is won by moments, key races, specific tracks, situations where one team suddenly has an advantage so strong nobody else can respond. Ferrari is building toward that moment, a car that, on certain circuits, could create a gap too big to recover. But that approach comes with a hidden consequence, because if your car only works perfectly in specific conditions, then every other race becomes damage control, and that puts enormous pressure on execution, on strategy, on the drivers. No mistakes, no instability, no unpredictable behavior. But the direction Ferrari is choosing naturally introduces all of that. And this is where things become even more critical, because the B specification is not just about aerodynamics. It is about how the entire car behaves under pressure. Entry into corners, weight transfer, rear stability under traction, energy deployment timing. Everything becomes more extreme, more optimized, but also more fragile. And this connects directly to something we already saw in China. Small moments, subtle corrections, tiny signs that the car, while fast, was not always comfortable. Now imagine a version of that car with even less margin, because when you push performance to the edge, you don't just gain speed, you reduce tolerance. And in Formula One, tolerance is everything. But Ferrari is accepting that trade, because they are no longer trying to follow Mercedes. They are trying to force Mercedes into a fight they didn't choose. And that is a completely different battle, because if Ferrari succeeds, Mercedes will have to react, not with small updates, but with a change in direction. And that is where things become unpredictable, because dominant teams are strong until they are forced out of their comfort zone. And Ferrari is preparing exactly that. A disruption, a shift in the balance, a car that doesn't play by the current rules of performance. And the most important part, we still haven't seen it on track. But when it arrives, it won't look like a normal upgrade. It will look like a statement. And not everyone inside Ferrari is fully comfortable with that, which raises a question nobody is asking yet. What if this isn't just a performance gamble, but a turning point for the entire project? And this is where everything becomes uncomfortable, because inside Ferrari, this is no longer just a technical decision. It is political, strategic, and potentially irreversible. Because choosing to build a B specification like this means committing resources, time, and development tokens to a path you cannot easily abandon. And in modern Formula One, every decision like that has a cost. A real cost. Because while Ferrari pushes forward with this aggressive concept, Mercedes is not standing still. They are refining, optimizing, perfecting a car that is already complete. And that creates a dangerous contrast. One team evolving stability, the other chasing transformation. Now here is the detail that changes how you should see all of this. Ferrari is not just reacting to Mercedes. They are reacting to the calendar, because there are circuits coming where straight-line speed matters less, where traction, where cornering, where tire life becomes everything, tracks where the weakness disappears, and the strength becomes overwhelming. Ferrari knows exactly which races those are, and this B specification is being shaped around them. Not randomly, not generally, specifically, targeted performance. And that means one thing. When this car arrives, it won't just be faster. It will be designed to win immediately. But that creates pressure, because if it doesn't deliver in those key races, the entire strategy collapses. No fallback, no safety net, just lost time and lost points. And this is where the drivers enter the equation in a completely different way. Because this kind of car does not forgive hesitation. It rewards commitment, precision, confidence under instability. Hamilton, experienced, controlled, analytical. Leclerc, instinctive, aggressive, willing to push beyond the limit. Now imagine both of them inside a car that demands absolute trust but doesn't always give it back. That combination can either unlock something extraordinary or create internal tension, because when a car becomes difficult, drivers stop thinking the same way. They start asking different questions about setup, about direction, about priority. And inside a team fighting for a championship, those differences matter. More than lap time, more than data, because development follows belief. And if belief splits, so does progress. But Ferrari is moving forward anyway, because they are betting on something bigger. Not just performance, not just upgrades, but timing. Because if this B specification lands at the right moment, on the right track, against a Mercedes that is not prepared for it, the entire narrative of the season changes. Suddenly, dominance looks fragile. Suddenly, the gap looks manageable. Suddenly, pressure shifts. And that is how championships turn. Not gradually, but in one weekend. one upgrade, one unexpected result. And Ferrari is building toward that exact moment, which leads to the most important question of all. Not whether the car will be fast, but whether that one moment will be enough to change everything. And now we arrive at the part Ferrari does not want anyone to fully understand yet. Because everything we have talked about so far, the philosophy, the risk, the timing, it all leads to one final layer. The real objective behind this B-specification, and is not just about winning races. It is about control. Control of how the race is fought. Control of where the advantage exists. Control of what every other team is forced to react to. Because right now, Ferrari is reacting to Mercedes' power, to Mercedes' efficiency, to a car that can win in almost any condition. But with this new direction, Ferrari is trying to flip that completely. They want to become the reference, the team that dictates the terms. And here is how they plan to do it. Not by being faster everywhere, but by creating scenarios where only they can operate at the limit. Think about that for a second. A car so optimized for specific conditions that when those conditions appear, no one else can follow. Not because they are slower, but because their cars are not designed for that level of precision, that level of aggression, that level of instability. And this is where it becomes clear. Ferrari is not building a safer car. They are building a more demanding one. A car that sits closer to the edge all the time. And that changes how races unfold. Because when a car lives on the edge, it can unlock performance others cannot reach. But it also introduces something very dangerous. Volatility, unpredictability, moments where everything works perfectly, and moments where everything almost falls apart. And this connects directly to what we saw in China. Because even with a balanced car, Ferrari was already operating near its limit in certain phases. Now imagine removing that safety margin. Now imagine a car that gives you more performance, but asks for more in return. More precision, more confidence, more risk. And suddenly, every lap becomes a decision. Push or protect, attack or survive. And this is where the psychological side of Formula One becomes critical. Because the fastest car is not always the one that wins, is the one the driver can trust. Lap after lap, corner after corner, under pressure. And Ferrari is about to test that limit. Not just mechanically, but mentally. Because if Hamilton and Leclerc can extract everything from this machine, Ferrari doesn't just compete, they overwhelm. But if even small doubts appear, if the car becomes unpredictable at the wrong moment, then all that potential turns into inconsistency. And inconsistency destroys championships. So now everything depends on something we cannot measure yet. Not data, not simulations, not even performance numbers, but adaptation. How quickly the drivers understand the car, how confidently they push it, how consistently they control it at the edge. Because this B-specification is not just an upgrade, it is a filter. It will expose strengths, and it will expose weaknesses inside the car, inside the drivers, and even inside the team itself. Because once this version hits the track, there is no hiding, no gradual learning, no slow transition. The results will be immediate, and the consequences even faster, which leads to the final realization. Ferrari is not just building a car to chase Mercedes. They are building a car that could either end the fight or end their own chances completely. And when a team reaches that point, there's only one thing left to find out. What happens the moment that car finally touches the track?